Hey everybody, welcome to Ron Line Report. Today's special guest, pro bodybuilder, female bodybuilder in the IFBB Pro League. Please welcome Hannah Hussein. Hannah, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So you've gotten some notoriety. Even Coach Greg Doucette, who's got millions and millions of viewers, took note of you. You've been very open and transparent about steroid use in the women's competitive side of the sport. It's kind of a taboo subject. I don't know why. You can tell me if you agree. I just think it's because it's male hormones for the most part. It's more stigmatized for women to use steroids than men, even though it's still a performance enhancing drug, no matter which gender is using it.
Yeah. So. I actually think I'm starting to realize why more women aren't open about it, and it's because of the stigma online. We get absolutely destroyed, even though, like, as far as statistically, there's more men on steroids than women,
of course,
but it's just not as obvious, right? And it's not as abrasive to what you expect a man and a woman to be. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm learning as I go, as I get into other platforms, YouTube, and I'm outside the bodybuilding bubble. It's become very, very apparent why more women don't speak out about it.
Yeah, and of course, as you became more muscular, you probably noticed you were sort of stigmatized and treated as given weird looks and disapproving looks and glances from, I call them civilians, even though we're not in the military, but people that aren't part of our little world. You see a guy with muscles, okay, that's kind of unusual, but a woman with the delts in the arms and the back, they're like, what the hell is that? Even though we've had women bodybuilders for like 50 years now.
Yeah. I still get looks. I mean, the last time I got a look was in a grocery store by a very old lady, and she did not make it a secret that I just got back from the gym, and I was in shorts and my high tops, and my legs had this huge pump, and she was looking at me like I was an alien. It's like, okay,
No snide remarks though, right?
No, she didn't say anything, but the look on her face, and she was looking right at me, it was very obvious, but I was like, okay, well,
grandma didn't approve. Okay.
No.
So I want to start up from the beginning. When you started training, were you aware of steroids and how they played a part in bodybuilding? Was it something that you thought maybe I'll do these someday? What was your early awareness of steroids?
None. And a lot of people, don't believe me when I say I was how ignorant I was. I was homeschooled. Oh. I was very sheltered. My mom allowed 30 minutes of TV a day.
Oh boy.
Wow. So, and I didn't have anything other than a flip phone until I got into my 20s.
Wow.
So when, I'm not claiming arrogance here for, just to say that I really was very much sheltered. Nobody in my family knew about I didn't know bodybuilding existed until I saw a magazine, Well, I did see the movie, The Terminator, right? Oh. Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then the girl, Sarah, I can't remember her name.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah, I saw her doing pull-ups in that movie, and I thought it was so cool. We were allowed to watch movies when it was like a family movie or we had friends over or whatever. But like as a normal day, my mom did not allow more than 30 minutes of TV a day. So I was sheltered in the most sheltered possible way, right?
It's funny that you mentioned Terminator 2 and Linda Hamilton, because I think that I want to say 1982 no, that was Terminator 1. That was like 1990 or 91. And people thought she was huge.
Yeah. And I did too. Yeah. I thought she was the most muscular woman I'd ever seen until that point. I didn't know that women could do pull-ups, because my family members, my mom, my sisters, none of them are athletic. My mom was a cyclist, but again, super tiny upper body. She had pretty strong legs, but nothing like bodybuilding. And so I had zero experience, did not know, I think I probably, as I got older, like into my 20s, and I started going to gyms and stuff, I think I probably had some information by that point, just talking to people. And, I wasn't ignorant in the sense that I knew your voice could change. I knew you could lose hair. I knew all the things that you kind of saw on surface level.
Yeah.
but I didn't know. I mean, that's about it as far as it went, you know?
So how do you go from, tons of people go to the gym, but they never take it further than just going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. You said you had seen Terminator 2, but was there someone or something you saw that flipped a switch in your brain and said, I want to look like that?
A magazine when I was about 16 years old. And I was working at an HEB, which is like it's a grocery store here in Texas.
Yeah.
And I saw, I think it was a muscle and fitness magazine. I don't know if it was like Muscle RX or whatever the big magazine was around back then.
Muscle and fitness was huge. Yeah.
And there was a female bodybuilder, and she would probably be like physique now, maybe, but she was doing a row. It was black and white photo. She had short blonde hair.
Yeah.
Doing a row. I saw that and I was like, that's what I want to look like.
Okay. So how do you become a bodybuilder from that point? Did you get a coach? Did you start reading books, magazines, online?
I bought the magazine and I immediately tried to hide it from my mom, but she found it.
Oh, boy.
Because I knew, my mom is very, very judgmental, and she found it and she goes, please tell me you don't want to look like this. And of course that question alone, please tell me you don't want to look like this, in her very judgmental way. Of course I go, no, of course I don't want to look like that. I just straight up lied to her. Right. And she was like, good, because that's gross. And so that taught me, this is not going to be accepted. Wow. Even though, it definitely was what I wanted, but from then I'd always been athletic, and I was currently training at a 24-hour fitness in the city that I was in at the time. Yeah. But I would go there and I would just do cardio. Like I would do the treadmill, swim, because I would do triathlons with my stepdad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've always been athletic. I did gymnastics before that. And then, we moved here to Texas from Florida, and then I quit gymnastics because I didn't have my teammates anymore. And then started doing triathlons with my dad, because I've always had an athletic like drive to me. I've always gravitated to athletics even as a pretty young kid. And from there, I was training at the 24-hour fitness, doing cardio basically. Yeah. And after I saw the magazine, I decided I'm going to go venture into the weights, because I'm like, that's, I don't know how I got the context of that takes weight training. I mean, I wasn't a dumb kid. I was definitely sheltered, but I wasn't dumb. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm going to try weights. And I ventured into the weight area and started doing things very, very wrong. Like just what I thought would be, I don't know. I think I was doing like a tricep machine or something. I cannot remember what machine I started off with. I decided to do, yeah, but it was wrong. And one of the trainers immediately came up to me and he was like, let me show you how to do this. And I was like, okay, cool. And he actually started training me for free, for like once every couple of weeks, whenever he could, because, he could tell I was young. I was 16. Yeah. And he was like, I know you can't afford this, but I'm going to help you when I can, when I have free time. And he kind of just helped me, showed me some stuff. He showed me how to train my legs, train some upper body. It was more like his style was more like calisthenics. So it wasn't even like what I would tell somebody to, but also I was keeping my secret of wanting to be a bodybuilder. That was so like, I did not want to talk about that because I had already been taught that was not acceptable. So I was like keeping that on the DL. And so I just, he was like, what are you trying to do? I was like, I just, I want to build some muscle. And so he was doing, what a trainer would do. Yeah. And that went on. That was a good experience for me, that trainer. Then we're actually still friends today. In the same gym. Months later, there was a guy or two guys that had come in, one of them was very, very obviously a bodybuilder. And in that gym, it was, you know, kind of rare to see actual bodybuilders, you know, actual built people. And then the guy training with him, which ended up being the guy that, you know, told me about steroids, he introduced himself as this guy, the bodybuilders, which he looked great. And I'm pretty sure he was a pro. He spread this rumor that he was this guy's coach, right? Like he told me that, he told other people, blah, 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 because they would come in, train together, and then the bodybuilder would leave. I think he was a cop, actually. And then the guy that, you know, it turned into him being my first coach. He would stay around kind of the gym and talk to people or whatever and be like, yeah, you know, we have him on this plan, whatever. And so he was touting himself as this guy's coach, which turned out not to be true. It turned out that he was not anybody's coach, right? He wanted to be, but they were just training together. So I don't know if they were like, I don't know, but I never really talked to the actual bodybuilder guy, right?
Right.
He always was very focused. And this other guy, I don't know if we'll call him Cody. Okay.
Sure.
Had came up to me and looking back, I know like it was definitely, he was trying to sleep with me. He was trying to hit on me. Because that's how he approached me. I wasn't at this point, like I was in shape, but you know, I wasn't muscular at this point in any way.
Yeah.
I was very skinny. I started out very, very skinny. I started out at under 100 pounds.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
Okay. I mean, that's
5'2".
Okay. That's not emaciated, but that's pretty small.
I was, well, like, yeah, it's not like underweight, I guess. But
it's pretty thin. Yeah. 100 pounds. Yeah.
Like I could put my hands around my arms and literally touch. Like,
oh boy. Wow.
Yeah. That's how skinny my arms were.
Okay.
So
Cody.
Yeah. So he came up to me and he just started talking to me. And I was very interested because I knew who he trained or who I thought he trained. Right.
Right.
And so that was my first experience with a coach, with a professional bodybuilder. And so I was like all ears, you know, and we started talking. He was like, so what are you training for? You know, what are you in the gym for? What are your goals? Blah, blah, blah. And so he was like kind of the first person that was safe for me to be like, you know, I actually want to bodybuild. Like I saw this magazine and I was just drawn to it. And I think it's so cool. I think muscle is so cool. And he goes, you know, I can help you with that. And I was like, okay, well, what do I do? And he goes, I'm going to give you some stuff and you take it and you train. And I was like, okay. And so that's what I did.
Yeah. I mean, I heard another interview where you said you don't even know what your first cycle was. You have no idea. Wow.
No, because he told me, because I asked him, you know, I asked him, I was like, well, what are the side effects of this? Because, you know, I knew there was going to be side effects. And he was like, you know, this is, this stuff doesn't really come with side. He was like, this is new. You're not going to find it anywhere else. If you go to another coach, they're not going to be able to find it for you.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it was this new, like, you know, super drug that was not going to have side effects. And I wasn't, I assumed, I'm like, there's probably going to be some side effects. I just didn't care at the time.
Okay.
You know,
now, he never even let you know that there were natural federations and drug tested contests that no bodybuilder has to, you can be a natural bodybuilder, but you never had that option presented to you. It sounds like. No.
And, you know, I don't want to, because, you know, I get accused of blaming people all the time. I'm not blaming, like, I was stupid, right?
No, just naive.
Naive, whatever you want to call it. I absolutely was. I could have done my own research. It would have been very hard for me. You know, it would have been very hard for me for several reasons, because of my parents being super strict. Not really, like, I had access to the internet. Back when dial-up, you know, your mom had to not be on the phone. My mom was on the phone all the time.
So we're
And so,
talking, this must have been over 20 years ago then.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I started with, with Cody when I was like 20-ish,
Okay.
right? I started training at 16. I trained naturally for that long.
Right.
So I trained with that personal trainer for a while. I still stayed in that same gym. I kept to that same gym, the 24-hour fitness. I trained, I did triathlons. I kept my secret of wanting to be a bodybuilder for a long time until I'd met Cody and his athlete, or his pretend athlete, the bodybuilder.
His training partner, I guess it was. Yeah.
I think that's what it was. I think they were just training partners, either just training. I mean, they had to have been training partners, friends, right? But yeah, so I just completely listened to him because he was the only person I knew in that world, you know?
Right.
And so, no, I didn't know that there was natural federations. I didn't know, but even if I had known the physique in my head that I was chasing, I don't think I would have ever attained naturally.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, I competed in my younger years as natural shows, and my son competes in natural shows, but they have nowhere near the publicity, the recognition, the prestige, if you want to put it that way, as the non-tested federations and contests. So, you know, if you want to make a career out of it, you're pretty much going to have to do the drug route. So your first cycle, didn't know what it was, but what kind of results? How soon did you start seeing differences?
Pretty fast, because I don't know if it was trainer test, right? It had to be one of the two.
Yeah.
But within a month, I started noticing my voice dropped. I started feeling like I was sick. Or not feeling, sorry. It started like, you know, when you feel like you're getting sick in your throat.
Yeah, I do.
That's what it felt like. Not like physically, but and then people started asking, do you have a cold? You know? And I was like, probably, you know. But the weight came on pretty fast too.
So you were 100 pounds prior to this. Let's say 2 or 3 months into that first cycle, what do you think you weighed?
I probably shot up to at least 115 pounds at that point. I remember pretty consistently weighing myself. And once I got over 100 pounds and then I got to like 110, 112, I was like, whoa. Because I had never seen that on the scale before.
Yeah. So from there, I mean, obviously, I don't know how long you stuck with Cody as your coach, but where do you make the progression? How long ago are we talking? Like roughly what year was this?
Crap. This was probably 2011 or 2012 because I actually competed in 2013.
Oh, I was going to ask you because we talked before and I asked you turned pro in 2023, but I didn't know how long a road to pro you had.
Yeah.
Some people it's like, you know, very fast, but so yeah, how did you go from there to, you know, first competition, deciding it was time, your physique was ready?
So when I hopped on stairs the first time, it wasn't to compete. It was just to look a certain way. Like I didn't care about competing. I actually didn't even know, like I wasn't super well, like I wasn't familiar with actually stepping on stage. You know, my original like goal and dream was to just look the way I wanted to look and be in magazines. Like that's what I wanted. And so the stage didn't factor into it at all for me at first. I ended up moving. I moved out and got my own place, and I switched gyms. And that's when I started going to a different gym. And then at that point, people started approaching me and going, "Do you compete? You should compete." When I told them that I didn't. And I was like, okay. And then I ended up meeting someone else at this new gym. And he goes, hey, like, I think you should go see this nutritionist. You put so much work into the gym and training that, and I wasn't on steroids this whole time, by the way. Like, after coding, after like my voice kind of changed and stuff, and I started seeing some stuff that, like, yes, I liked the muscle progress, but then I started started noticing some stuff, and I actually had some friends go, "Hey, you're looking kind of scary. Maybe back off of what you're doing." And so
I'm sorry, when they say that, well, it was like your face starting to change, or what was going on?
My body, I got pretty muscular, like my back grew really, really fast.
Okay.
And I've always had my cap shoulders. And I think it went from people that knew me as this skinny little under 100-pound, like petite little girl, to all of a sudden, like, I'm kind of ripped.
Yeah.
Then I got abs and everything too. Like, I wish I had more pictures, but I at that time there, like, I wasn't on social media, so there's very, very sparse pictures. I finally got two pictures that my mom sent me that are like the physical, they're not online anywhere.
Actual printed pictures like we used to have.
Yeah, she found them in a folder or in a box somewhere that she has old pictures. So I finally have two pictures of before I ever started steroids.
Oh.
But during this time, where, between Cody and then my second coach, I don't have very many. There's like a couple, but yeah. So I wasn't on steroids this whole time.
Okay.
So 2013 or like early 2012 rolls around, and this new person that I meet at this new gym comes up to me and he goes, "I think you should see this nutritionist guy, blah, blah, blah." So I end up going to him just for nutrition, because my nutrition was very poor. I was living on my own. I was doing the best I could. I was working all the time because I lived by myself, and I would eat like canned tuna and M&Ms.
M&M's, okay. Canned tuna sounded good, but then you got me with the M&M's.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. But anyway, he talked me into going and seeing this nutritionist. And I walked in and he goes, "Are you here for prep?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "You need to compete with those shoulders. You need to compete." He was like, "You're really not here for prep?" I was like, "No, I'm just here for nutrition." And then he was like, "Okay, what do you know about competing?" And I was like, "Not much. I mean, like, I know kind of the basics, like you step on stage or whatever."
Yeah.
And he was like, "I think you would do so well." He was like, "Can I just show you some stuff?" He showed me pictures of figure. We immediately went to the figure division because of my back and shoulders.
Okay.
I was already, at that time, I was already too big for a bikini. My upper body was.
Oh, there we go. Well, this is 2022 to 2025.
Yeah.
Or 2024, it looks like this is posted.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious, did you end up doing a lot of research on PEDs and figuring out these compounds are some things that might be safer for a woman? These are things I might stay away from, to sort of counteract the side effects. Everything has potential side effects, obviously, but you probably figured out at some point, test, tren, Anadrol, bad.
Yeah.
Anavar, maybe a little bit of Deca, a little bit of Primobolan, probably kinder to a woman in terms of potential side effects. So
yeah.
What did you discover about all that?
Yeah. So I did actually start doing my own research on the type of compounds. And that's when I decided I didn't want to do, like, since that very first cycle, I've never done tren. I've never done anything except for like, I've done Primo, I've done Anavar, I've done Winstrol. I did Mastron, I think, for the first time in 2023 when I got my pro card.
Okay.
But like, I decided, as I started to research things, some of the things that I knew I was going to stay away from. But it was still pretty lax. I was still very much in the mindset that do what it takes kind of mindset.
Yeah.
I decided against tren ever. If my first cycle was not tren, again, I still don't know.
It probably was.
Somebody said tren is orange, so I don't remember it being orange.
It's like an amber kind of color usually. Yeah.
so maybe it was more, maybe it was just tests. I don't really know, but
tests will do the same, do plenty of damage to a woman as well if taken, because you had no idea how much you were taking either.
No.
So
no, because I think, you know, the vial he gave me was probably the male dosed vial.
Well, I mean, trend usually comes, if it was acetate, it usually comes in 100 milligrams per milliliter. If it was the longer acting enanthate, it might have been 200 milligrams per milliliter. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm sure. I'm just knowing what knucklehead wannabe coaches do, especially with women athletes. I'm sure he had you on a lot more, because you've probably discovered over the years on your own through trial and error and research that women don't need a whole lot. I mean, did you arrive at like a sweet spot? Like, this is all I really need.
Well, that's now. That's me now, because like, I've never really had a coach until the coach that I have now, and the one that got me my pro card, to say, have you ever tried to you know, step off the gas pedal and see what you can do, like, with less than what you've been doing, because you've been doing a lot. And I guess my what's it called, idea of what was like normal in the industry comes from the coaches that I've had. You know, there was some coaches in there that were like, okay, we're not going to do injectables, you know, things like that, and we definitely backed off, and I did less there. But we never optimized my own hormones, except for my third coach, which he was not willing to push me in diet and things like that. Like, he was very much health focused. And so we kind of clashed there. He was almost like too healthy for what I wanted for my goals.
Yeah.
But I would say he was really the only coach that even was like, asked me to question it, because it also came from very low self-esteem, where I did not believe I had the genetics to be even like remotely muscular on my own. Which, looking back at the pictures like that my mom sent me, is actually really freaking sad, because when I look at it, I didn't have bad genetics.
Right. I mean, nobody with bad genetics turns pro. It doesn't happen, because there's too many people that trying to turn pro. They would beat you. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with all the drugs in the world, but people love numbers. People love to hear doses. I call it gear porn. There's this fascination. People just are obsessed with how much.
Yeah.
If we're talking about when you were with a coach that had you on what you would now consider too much or excessive, what are some dosages that you recall of any particular compounds?
Freaking anything over 300 milligrams total to me seems excessive now.
So you're talking about all the gear together for a week, or just like for one particular compound?
I'm talking all together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've came to that conclusion because of the amount of muscle I've held now on TRT alone.
Yeah.
What I was doing, the 300, 500 milligrams per week in, you know, total dosages, was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah.
I mean, you discover, I mean, anyone who's, any of the guys out there who are gear users, and you've had your girl, your wife, girlfriend, whatever, use, it's almost frustrating to us to see how great the results are from like a fraction of what we use.
Yeah.
Like a woman, 20 milligrams of Anavar a day, for example, and like 100 milligrams, 200 at the most of Premol in a week, just to throw out an imaginary cycle. That is plenty for most women. That wouldn't do much for a man at all. Yeah. But, because you're a woman, and the hormones have a far more potent, powerful effect on you. And that's why it's sad that you do see coaches putting women on 500 milligrams. I've heard of women using upwards of a gram. I mean, 2 grams. It happens.
And that's where kind of my threshold was, because at this point, once I got really serious into bodybuilding, like once I went past figure and things like that, I started talking to other women and asking them, hey, what is your cycle? Can and a lot of them were honest with me, and they would literally send me their cycles. They'd even send me pictures of the vials. And so I'm thinking, wow, I'm not doing anything here. I had a posing coach once, and she was an Olympian and very well known in the industry. And I absolutely looked up to her, still do. And she told me, because, you know, we were talking cycles, and I told her what I was currently on in that show, leading into that show. She goes, wow, your blast is my cruise.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm thinking, oh, I'm a baby, and, you know, and this is not unusual, which in the industry, it's not. That's the thing.
No.
It's not, you know? And so I think I've always just had this skewed perspective of, you know, what can actually be done with steroids. And also, you know, like I said, it took me forever to realize that I have decent genetics, you know, for bodybuilding. I do have wide clavicles and I do have a wide back, and, you know.
Yeah. There's you know, those of us on the inside, we know that all the women's divisions use PEDs, all of them, even down to bikini. Bikini girls use, they're women, I shouldn't call them girls, but bikini competitors will use Clen, Anavar, growth hormone, T3, T4, Primobolan, not as much in the amounts, but there's a misconception among the general public that they see the women who are more muscular and bigger, like your division is women's bodybuilding. They think, well, those women are all juiced up, and they look at, I don't know how they can look at figure and think that those giant cap shoulders are natural, but they'll look at like figure and bikini and say, well, these women are natural. Those bodybuilder women, they're on all the juice. I mean, is that something that you've had to deal with people making that misconception?
Oh yeah. But I mean, to the general public, what my cycles are insane, you know, like they, I wish they could see, you know, in the industry and get a good, like, real cap on like what actually happens behind the scenes. But yeah, absolutely. But I also don't think that I've done little, you know. I think I also think that I've done a lot when I stepped back and I, like, actually did research on, you know, grams, total dosages, you know, anabolic loads. I'm like, that's pretty insane. What I was doing was pretty freaking insane, you know, not in the industry, not by industry perspective or standards, but as a whole, you know, if I were just to step back and pretend that nothing else existed except, does this make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't, you know.
I mean, it's all relative, and people have their own interpretations. If you ask a bunch of bodybuilder, even pro bodybuilders, what's a lot, what's a high dose, you're going to get a lot. There's a lot of variation. Some people say, well, I would never go over 3 grams. Some people say I would never go over 5 grams. There are people that will go up to 10 grams of gear a week, guys. Growth hormones, some guys will use 2 IUs a day and say that's fine. Others will use 20 a day. There's just so much variation, but I don't know. How comfortable are you? Would you say like what a typical or a standard cycle would be for you? If you're not comfortable, that's fine. We can skip.
Oh no, totally. So the cycles I've done in the past, the standard was 300 to 500 total milligrams.
Yeah.
So like, I would say when I got really serious about competing, was with Shelby Starnes, and that was in 2019.
Yeah.
Because up until then, like, when I got with my second coach and he kind of talked me into doing figure and blah, 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 I wasn't super passionate about it. I never really liked figure. I didn't like being on stage, even though I love wearing heels. I'm very girly. I love wearing heels out and about. I didn't like it on stage. There was always a disconnect for me. It always felt very robotic.
Yes.
And then once I got with, Shelby was the first coach that he said, you can absolutely do physique if you want to. And then I got to do actual poses. Right. And that's when I got very, like, serious about it. And those were when the dosages started getting into, you know, because before that I had the 2 coaches that kind of just kept me with orals, not so much injectables. And then I got with Shelby, and then we kind of introduced injectables again because, you know, I had done them before. It just wasn't part of my norm during figure. So we introduced them back in, and with Shelby, it was anywhere from 300 to 500 a week. And looking back, that was not really necessary, in my opinion. because I totally talked my training partner into coaching me. He didn't want to coach me. He was like, I don't want to do bodybuilders. Y'all scare the shit out of me. And I was like, look, I don't know what else to do. And there was another coach I was talking to at that time that I was considering using, and he wanted me on trend. And I was like, I can't coach myself because I don't see myself as in an accurate way, especially in prep. And I can't find another coach that's not willing to respect my boundaries. And so he took over my prep and he pulled me back. He cut my dosages in half. Right. And I looked better. So
I believe it. So like, can you tell us like what the reduced dose was? Like you gave me a total, but do you remember like because like I said, people love the details. They salivate over this shit.
I can find, because I did that whole video. And when I did that video, I went back and looked because, you know, we had things in emails and stuff. So I was able to go back and see exactly what we did.
While you're looking, I'm going to encourage people to visit your YouTube channel because you've got a lot of very informative Q&As on there. A lot of great stuff. Your channel's grown very quickly because there's a hunger for that information, for honest information.
Yeah.
People lie their asses off all the time these days.
And that's what I want. And as I can, you know, people are mad that I'm still going to compete. I'm like, dude, you know, that's a whole nother topic, right? I didn't start YouTube to be like, oh, I've seen the light and steroids are bad. And that wasn't about that. It was because I saw that, like, I felt when I was, you know, learning things that my perception was skewed by people that weren't being honest, you know? And so I didn't want to play into that. I didn't want to feed into that where we're just doing this weird dance of we don't actually know what's going on, you know? And also I'm seeing more and more young people in my gyms and online that are messaging me all the time, like, hey, what's your cycle? What's your cycle? And I'm like, look, I can tell you and I can be honest with you, but realize that you know how much crap I've been through. You know what I mean? And then I got diagnosed with cystitis, which is chronic pain, internal cystitis.
Oh gosh.
And like I can kind of go into that, but it was caused by low estrogen. And turns out, as I started talking to other women, I have several female bodybuilder friends that were experiencing the same things. They're all going to urologists. I'm like, wait, why didn't you guys say anything? They're like, well, I didn't think it was bodybuilding related.
Wow.
You know, I thought this was something that was just going on because it's not like a very obvious thing. And I was like, wait, you're going to your urologist? Like, and she was like, yeah, next month I'm going to your urologist because I've been having all this weird pain and stuff. I'm like, dude, we need to talk. And so I don't know. I was just like, we need more information on this. And I didn't see anybody else doing it. So I was like, I'll freaking do it. I'm not very good at it, but I'll do it. You know?
All right. Did you find it?
I'm still looking. Hold on. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this was, and I can read it to you if you can't.
Yeah, my eyesight's for shit. So go ahead.
So, with Shelby, but like in the middle of that prep before I dropped him.
Yeah.
I was on 535 milligrams total.
Okay. Does it have a breakdown?
Yes. Yeah. So I was on Anavar and Winstrol, and then Primo and Masteron.
Okay.
Totaling 535 milligrams. And then when I got with Jake, which was the coach that I used and actually got my pro card with, and then he cut it in half, we dropped it to 184 milligrams total. So we completely dropped out the Masteron. We kept the Primo and Anavar in, but he dropped everything else. Okay. Including Novadex and Arimidex, which Shelby had me on. I didn't include that in the total anabolic load because, you know, it's not anabolic, but Shelby had me on Arimidex and Novadex, and then T3 and Clen.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So he dropped me. He dropped the Clen completely. He dropped the Arimidex and Novadex completely, and he cut back my T3 to 20 micrograms.
Okay.
And that's when I got my Pro card. And I lost some strength. We also had to make weight. When I got my Pro card, I had to make weight. And so I was very flat because we dropped my water, because I was very close to going overweight.
Yeah.
But overall, it was the best prep. I'm assuming from inflammation, right? Because in past preps, I was so used to being inflamed and not feeling good, and then taking diuretics and feeling even worse.
Yeah.
And then when I got my Pro card, I was like, whoa, this was not, I don't feel like I'm dying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not throwing I won't throw Shelby or any coach under the bus, but I've coached and I've talked to hundreds of coaches, and I don't understand the reliance on diuretics, because if your body fat is low enough, if you've gotten the body fat off, that's all you need. You don't. Plenty of people have won shows without diuretics. I know people are going, what? That's impossible. Trust me, plenty of people have won, and like you said, they suck all the water out. It's not selective. It's water from everywhere. Yeah. Comes out of your muscles. Everything goes flat, and people have died.
Yeah.
Let's throw that out there. You can take all the steroids you want today. You're not going to die today. You take a ton of diuretics today, you could die today.
Yeah.
It's happened. So, I really don't like to see any coaches pushing diuretics sort of as a cookie cutter approach. Like, you have to take diuretics at the end. Yeah. And I'm glad that you got away from that, because, it's, even if you don't have that immediate tragic end, it is wreaking havoc on our kidneys, and you might have the issues later on in life or sooner.
Yeah. And also, I never looked better. I always looked worse on stage when I would take a diuretic. Like, I would look good the week before, and then we would add in a diuretic, and I would flatten out completely. I'd lose that roundness in my shoulders every single time.
Wow. So, you've learned, you've made mistakes, and that's the only way you ever really learn things in my life anyway. What are some general things that you can tell women out there who are thinking of using steroids, or maybe they've started using steroids? Big mistakes that if you could go back in time, I wouldn't have done this or that.
I wouldn't have done my first cycle. I would not have done the guy that, that was just a huge mess. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't do research. I don't even think he understood. I think he was using me as a guinea pig. I also think it was a fetish for him. Just to be real, I think it was a fetish for him. Yeah. So I wouldn't have done that at all. I would have learned how to train, because at the time I was not training for hypertrophy. I was kind of just training, like, I was still doing the workouts that old trainer, which he wasn't a bodybuilding coach. He was just a personal trainer, and he was having me do a lot of calisthenics and things like that, which was good for overall health, but that's not what my goal was. My goal was to put on as much muscle as I could. So my number one would be, if I could go back, is learn how to train correctly.
Okay.
And then my first cycle, if I could go back and pick, would be, I would have gotten my labs done, because I was also originally extremely estrogen dominant. So I was very, very estrogen dominant when I was younger. Like, I was on birth control and things like that. And I remember my doctor saying, well, you got a lot of estrogen. My testosterone before I ever touched steroids was a 7. A 7.
Is that high or low for a woman? I don't know.
It's extremely low.
Okay.
It's low for anybody. Yeah. And so I had tons and tons of estrogen, and I had symptoms of that. Looking back before steroids, sorry to TMI, but like heavy periods, like a lot of I had double D boobs.
Yeah. There's no TMI. I've been married for 34 years. So okay. Whatever you want to say it.
Yeah. No, I was just there. I was very, very estrogen dominant. So what I would have done is get my testosterone in the upper normal limits. Okay. Right. And I would have absolutely used labs to do that, to make sure, I'm going in the right direction and I'm not overshooting. And that from there, if I could, I would try to max out whatever size I could doing that, just being optimal and, you know, in a normal optimal range, then I would implement things, maybe Anavar, maybe Primo, definitely GH, right? Because that's non-anabolic, or sorry, non-androgenic, right? So for a female, that's what I would have done. I wouldn't have jumped straight into super androgenic things without a roadmap, you know, because without blood work, there's no roadmap. You don't know what you're doing.
So, is growth hormone something you think is pretty safe and effective for most females to use?
I believe it is, as long as you don't have a strong history of family history of cancer.
True.
You know, I believe it's generally safe in low dosages for most people. But again, you know, it doesn't come without risks. But I do think that for most people, like my natural IGF-1 runs low.
Okay.
And so I've actually been prescribed in the past. I didn't use it because it was super expensive.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a prescription for you know, actual HGH.
Nice.
Because my IGF-1 runs low.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you were diagnosed, or when the doctor years ago was telling you had super high estrogen, and they saw the labs, but I think HRT for women has really only come into prominence maybe the last 5-10 years at the most.
Yeah. No, that was way back. Like HRT was not even discussed at that point. It was like, you know, I was getting on birth control. I was pretty young. So I was just getting on birth control. It was just kind of general health checkup. They didn't want to change anything. I just remember seeing the lab report, and they're going, yeah, you got plenty of estrogen and your testosterone, you know, I don't even know if they said it was low. I think I just saw the number 7 and I was like, I just remembered it. And now looking back, I know that was low, but they never suggested TRT. They never suggested anything like that.
Yeah, they didn't back then. I mean, even now it's getting more commonplace, but it's still not widely accepted for men. TRT for men is booming, as I'm sure you know. There's clinics all over the place, but for women, it's still kind of I don't know. I think the estrogen management is getting more popular, because anytime anytime wealthy people are starting to get older, the baby boomers are now Gen X, people with money that don't want to look old or feel old.
Yeah.
That's when the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry wakes up and says, oh boy, how can we make money off these people? All right. I think that wraps up the drug talk. Now, you turned pro. It's been a little over 2 years now, and you've yet to make your pro debut. Do you have any plans in the very near future?
In the very near future, no.
Okay.
Next year, I'm hoping next year. It was supposed to be this year. And then I ran into the cystitis issues, and I was having chronic pain, and it was affecting my training. And I also didn't know if I was going to be able to keep bodybuilding enhanced because of, you know, because of me finding out that it could possibly be due to steroids. Now I know that it wasn't necessarily steroids, which of course it's not going to help, but the driving factor was how low my estrogen was. And of course that is due to steroids. But as far as like pro debut, I'm actually considering going back down to figure.
Oh, I was going to ask if maybe women's physique, because obviously women's bodybuilding, that's the very end of the extreme.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the pictures and videos of you, I'm thinking women's physique might be a better fit, but figure you got to wear the heels now. Yeah,
I know. Well, with physique, like from what I see, some of them are just as big as the bodybuilders now. And it's like, since I've decided to not run such high dosages, I don't know what I'm going to look like, you know, in a prep where I'm just doing TRT and maybe some Anavar. I don't know where that's going to land me, you know, as size wise. So I'm kind of just shooting for figure, you know, because I feel like that would be, I wouldn't need to run the dosages that I have in the past to do well at it, right? I might have to for physique because they get absolutely shredded, and I see most of them in the pro league just as big as the female bodybuilders, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It's become almost, sometimes I can't even tell which division I'm looking at. I have to like try to look for clues behind on the stage or something.
Yeah.
But what about wellness? What do you think about that division?
I don't know if I have the lower body. See, I have I feel like my upper body is my strong point.
Oh, okay.
You know, like my back is my strong point. So if I'm going to win a show, it's probably going to be because of my back.
Okay.
And so with figure, you know, they have the back pose.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of my thought with that, because my back is genetically, I'm very gifted in the back because it's like the only thing that hasn't downsized on me.
No, I get that. If you have a strong body part, it's always going to be a strong body part.
Yeah.
What about, and this is, you're much too large for fit model, but what did you think about when they introduced that? Because I hope it stays with that natural look. I mean, I didn't think we need any more divisions, but whatever. It's their organization. They can do whatever the hell they want. I see that as the only division where you can do well without any PEDs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree or disagree.
From what I've seen, it seems like you could absolutely do that one natural, because they're not super shredded. They're not overly sized in any way. I do hope it stays that way. You know, that's what bikini was supposed to be.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm not super confident that it's going to stay that way.
I mean, yeah, if you look at any women's division and you go back in time, they all started out much, much smaller and less muscular. Yeah. You remember women's physique when it started, Dana Lynn Bailey? She was a little peanut compared to the women. You put her next to like Sarah Villegas now, it would be, you know, Sarah would squash her. Yeah. Or Natalia. Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Hannah, for being so very open and honest, as I think that's kind of your trademark. That's how people know you. It's a good thing to be known for. So I encourage everyone to check out Hannah's Instagram there, Hannah_Hussein13, and the YouTube channel, all one word, Hannah Hussein 13. Some excellent content on there, especially if you're a female, either using or considering using. Get yourself an education, some perspective from someone who's been there, done that, made a few mistakes that you can learn from. You know, mistakes are the best teachers in life, obviously. And Hannah's got some great insights for you. So check all that out. So Hannah, thank you so much. Appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
And whenever you do make your pro debut, whatever division it is, I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Raw Online Report with Hannah Hussein, and we'll see you right here next time.